Well, Chicago Bears fans. Breaking news. Breaking news. We have finally officially now seemingly have our GM in place. AK, if you didn't hear the news, I obviously kicked on this video for a reason. Whether you're a Bear fan or a freaking NFL fan, let's talk about it. But mostly this is for Chicago Bear fans, since they're my favorite team and we need to talk about this. But anyways, breaking news: the Chicago Bears have found their GM, and they are finalizing a deal. What Adam Schefter has been reported, but regardless, Ryan Poles is essentially finalizing the deal to become the new Chicago Bears general manager. Um, Now, obviously, my thoughts on the move and my thoughts on the decision to hire Ryan Poles. Listen, I don't know damn near nothing about Ryan Poles. All I know is he's from the Chiefs. Now, I have this this Bears Wire article, and the experience he's had is starting from 2009. He was a player personnel assistant in Kansas City. He spent his entire career in Kansas City. So in 2009, he was a player personnel assistant. In 2010 to 2012, he was the college scouting administrator. Then in 2013 to 2016, he was the college scouting administrator. Then in 2017, he was the director of college scouting. Then in 2018 to 2020, he was the assistant director of player personnel. And then from 2021 to now, well, since his time with the Chiefs, he was the executive director of player personnel. Now, the article goes on to say this. Poles has been a rising star among the Chiefs organization, where he survived 3 different GM regimes and continued to climb the ranks within the organization. Poles has an extensive scouting experience where he overseen all aspects of scouting players, helps with free agency preparation, and assists GM Brett Veach with the NFL draft. Poles has been with Kansas City for his entire NFL career, which spans 13 seasons. He's seen how successful NFL franchises operates, which is something the Bears would like to replicate. The Chiefs have won at least 10 games in each of the last 6 seasons, which also includes 2 AFC championships and a Super Bowl, which now you can add to the list 3 championships. Because I believe this article was written I got to see when this article was done. This article was done January 22nd. So, honest to God, 3 days before this. So yeah. Now the article goes on to continue on saying, given Poles' scouting background, it's worth noting he was part of the success Kansas City had in the NFL draft. He has an eye for talent that will be vital to an organization. There also the Chicago connection, as Poles signed as an undrafted free agent with the Bears in 2008. Some guys said in this article, we've seen these guys on TVs as athletes every week, but they're this was a quote from Poles. Now Poles said, we see these guys on TV as athletes every week, but they look around each other all the time too. So the locker room has to be good. If you don't have a strong locker room, if you don't keep everyone on the same page, and if you don't have leaders to keep the focus forward, you'll lose it. Something that happened in Matt Nagy's tenure, especially in the end. The article goes on to say, Poles has been one of the most attractive GM candidates in this cycle. He's garnered interest from 3 different teams. Just one day after interviewing with Poles, which he interviewed today, Chicago requested, obviously, a second interview, which happened today, and they were very impressed. Anyways, Poles has been a finalist for 3 different teams, which was the Bears, the Giants, and Vikings. New York obviously took Joe Sheen, but obviously this whole thing was between the Vikings and the Bears. So that was the whole thing there. From what I freaking heard, the thing is, obviously the Bears were highly interested in him and everything. And it really truly was the race between the Minnesota Vikings and the Chicago Bears who ended up with Ryan Poles. And to my chagrin, well, good for me, the Bears ending up finalizing a deal with Ryan Poles to become the new general manager of this team. Which, hey, I'll take it. Now, listen, and actually, let me go off the train of thought for a quick second, but I really do find it hilarious how in the last 2 off seasons for the Bears and the Vikings have had this person they want. Now, last year, the Vikings, it was clearly obvious, and I think they even, revealed it, that the fact that if Justin Fields fell to the Vikings were taking him regardless. And guess who scooped up and took Justin Fields from them? The Chicago Bears. Same situation here. Ryan Poles next to the other guy, I think Kofeski, I don't know the guy's other name, but the Browns I don't know, the guy from the Browns that the Vikings were interested in. It was between those two, and the Vikings were probably leaning more towards getting Ryan Poles, because I saw the reports and everything over Twitter and everything saying that the Vikings essentially looked to try to seal the deal with Ryan Poles. And, well, lo and behold, the Bears come right on in, and they literally take Ryan Poles off his feet and take him from the Vikings, from the grasp of the Vikings, which, funny enough, the number one video you saw in terms of Bears news this morning was the fact that George McCaskey himself went to O'Hare International Airport and picked up Ryan Poles right then and there last night. Now, this morning, there were some media outlets from the radio outlets saying, you can't freaking do that. That's so freaking why? And the thing is, honestly, if I were to tell these people, I guarantee you probably regret saying those words, because guess what? They locked it down. And from when I saw the video, I'm like, well, that clearly shows to me that George McCaskey wants this guy to be the next GM. And the Bears truly do want this, because in what world would an owner of your team go to a public airport, walk through the public airport, and pick up your potential GM candidate? I don't think nobody does that. I think the only other person I could see doing that is maybe Jerry Jones, because that would be totally in his freaking character. But every other owner probably would not even think about getting up, driving to the airport, and going to go pick up their potential GM candidate. So that clearly showed to me that the Bears were highly interested and they want this guy. So yeah, now he's very young, he's 36. Now we know Ryan Pace, the other Ryan, which I find hilarious, Ryan Pace, and now we got another Ryan Poles, but whatever. The thing is, Ryan Pace was a young guy and he fucked up all the time, giving away draft picks and stuff like that. But we'll see how Ryan Poles does. He's a young guy, but if they say he's got a nice eye for talent, especially in terms of drafting talent, well then guess what? I want Ryan Poles to freaking draft around Justin Fields and build this team around Justin Fields. The defense, yes, do they need to make some improvement on the defensive side? Like defensive back, some defensive line depth, and maybe linebacker depth as well. Yes, I agree. I totally agree. But what we need to do to be successful, you've seen it in the playoffs so far. These offenses are high prolific, high crazy offense. Freaking hell, Joe Burrow damn near equaled the same amount of sacks Justin Fields did in week 3 against the Browns, but guess what? They still ended up winning because they had the freaking offensive talent, despite the offensive line deficiencies, to get past what the freaking Titans were killing them on defense. That's what I need Ryan Poles to do. Build around this offense for Justin Fields. Give him the damn weapons. Give him the number 1 receiver, the superstar that is going to change games for the Bears, the playmaker. That's what we need. And hopefully Ryan Poles does that. So, yes, seemingly he's got a good eye for talent in the draft. And the fact that he was a player personnel person, that means he can also be qualified enough to take certain veteran players and stuff like that. Listen, I don't know much about Ryan Poles. I don't really, truly, honestly know. Over the weeks, I've heard more about this dude. A lot of people say that would be a steal for anybody to get this guy on their freaking team, in their organization. That's a steal. He's going to work out great for those guys, for the team, and stuff like that. And listen, well, look, I don't know nothing about this guy. Probably no other Bear fans know nothing about this guy. And I can understand, and maybe if you as a Bears fan has skepticism, especially in the fact that this guy is coming from the Chiefs organization. Because we remember the last time we brought somebody over from the Chiefs organization 4 or 5 years ago. Guess what? That's Matt Nagy, and he completely flopped. And he got the same praise and accolation that Ryan Poles was getting, because I still remember the time that somebody gets Matt Nagy, that's a steal of a freaking, coach you can get there in your organization, And guess what? 4 or 5 years later, Matt Nagy flopped. And that's potentially could be the same thing with Ryan Poles. But like I said, if he was not sure freaking alternate GM, if you're a Bears fan, listen, it's a business. It is what it is. At the end of the day, some Bear fans may be happy, some may not be happy. The least thing we can all hope for is, well, maybe this guy gives some head coach recommendations. Now, there's rumors saying he's tied to freaking Dan Quinn, which more than likely means Dan Quinn could potentially be the favorite. I hope Ryan Poles comes in and he says, listen, all the candidates you have on your list, along with my candidates, seem all right with me. I want to do some more due diligences, and that means going out and interviewing a Brian Daboll, a Byron Leftwich, give them a second interview. I hope that's what Ryan Poles also does before just settling on a Dan Quinn. Go out and interview a Brian Daboll and a Byron Leftwich again. Maybe see if you can find some sort of way to get in connection with Jim Harbaugh and actually bring him in for an interview. That's what I hope Ryan Poles does. And he doesn't just let George enforce it. No, we want this guy. No, Ryan Poles needs to come up in there and say, hey, listen, I would like to interview a few more candidates before we make this decision. And stuff like that. So I want to get second interviews with Daboll and Leftwich. He would have to be at that Kansas City Chiefs game. He definitely was at that Kansas City Chiefs game two nights ago when he saw what Brian Daboll's offense did. So I want to be shocked if, the Bears freaking request to interview Brian Daboll for a second time. So we're going to see if Ryan Poles will willingly be like, okay, I have my guys on the table, but let's and if say Brian Daboll and Byron Leftwich is on his other list, where they try to fuse the candidates list of the front office, like George's list and his list, maybe that's how we can get another interview with Brian Daboll and Byron Leftwich. We'll see as the time progresses. But my thing is this, listen, we're not going to know how this guy's going to turn out. We're not going to know. And it's going to be some time to see where this guy turns out. And we're going to see, okay, after some time. It's not going to be after the first draft. So listen, if there's going to be Bear fans freaking, getting up in arms if he didn't do a good job his first NFL draft, well, listen, he's going to have me. I'm going to give him 3-4 years. After 3-4 years, you should pick up on what this guy is good at and what this guy is not good at, and stuff like that. And we'll see. The difference is this. He doesn't have to worry about getting a quarterback now. He needs to only worry about building the team around said quarterback and putting the right head coach in place to help develop said right quarterback in Justin Fields. Listen, I'm glad the Bears finally hired. I figured that the Bears needed to make this announcement sooner rather than later because the Giants already made their decision. I said the Bears might want to pick up this process a little bit now and at least have their finalists for GM ready. Word got out, the finalist for their GM was definitely there. because it came out yesterday that it was Austin Foote, Elliot Wolf, and then obviously Ryan Poles. Well, Ryan Poles is the new GM now. Listen, I'm gonna have to see how this guy does in the future for this team to really give myself an accurate grade, because like I said earlier, just getting proper noise and high praise from other outlets is not going to do you any good if you're not putting in the results to show me as a fan, should I trust you? Are you doing the right thing? Because this is the thing about the Bears we need to understand as Bear fans. We cannot be so overblown and everything. We have to wait and see what these guys do in power. And that's why, honestly, I'm kind of just like, yes, there's a guy like a Dan Quinn doesn't intrigue me. Does he give me any hope? No, hell, he doesn't impress me. We'll just have to see what the hell he does if he ends up being the potential head coach of the Bears. We have to see the results. And two, we have to see, can this guy do it consistently? We can't have this 1 year bullshit where we're super damn good and nobody sees us coming, and then the following year we suck again. We need consistent growth. And hopefully the difference from Ryan Pace to Ryan Poles is he doesn't overpay for guys that don't show up. He doesn't handily give away fucking draft picks every damn year when we could just sit back and not even do anything unless you really, really are sold on a guy and you're afraid some other team's going to take him. He hands out the right contract prices. Most importantly, he finds the right leader of men. I think we got the quarterback down. Yes, I do think we still need to see more of Justin Fields, but I think Justin Fields can be a solid to good quarterback for us. Hell, even great quarterback for us. All the dude has to do is get the right head coach, and hopefully the right head coach is the best leader of men that holds the players accountable and is willing to take this organization in a different direction than the last two guys leading the charge were, and Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy. So the Bears got their GM. Look, I'm happy we got our GM. Good. That's great. Now, let's see what this guy's going to do in terms of hiring the head coach. Will he bring back in a Brian DeBoll and a Byron Leftwich, which I highly recommend they do? Bring him back in for a second interview, especially before, say, either a Jaguars or Giants plan on just tying the knot and hiring them. So you might as well get in contact with Brian DeBoll again one more time and say, hey, Brian, we want you to come in for another interview before you maybe potentially look at taking the Giants job. So that's the thing. That's the only thing as Bear fans we hope. The fact that Ryan Poles is willing to tell George, these are some other guys who want on this list that we need to go back and interview and add them to our finalist list, because we need to do whatever is within our power to get better and win. So, yeah. And that's the last thing I gotta say. Hopefully Ryan Poles isn't a fucking yes man that was willing to bend over and freaking take it up the butt from George McCaskey. I hope Ryan Poles is this type of guy that is willing to tell no nonsense, willing to tell George, we're gonna have our disagreements. I stand no on this decision. You made me the football guy. You said you're the fan in your press conference. I'm the football guy here. Let me do my job. So, yeah. Well, listen, the Bears did their due diligence. They seemingly found their new GM. And, we're going to have to see how Ryan Poles does in his tenure as Chicago Bears head coach. Not head coach, Chicago Bears general manager. Well, the only other news that I'll probably be back to talk about is whenever the Bears make the hire on the head coach. So, yeah, but Ryan Poles is the new GM. What are your thoughts? Put that in the comment section. Leave a like in the video if you like this video, as well as the subscribe button if you want to get more Chicago Bears content on my new sports channel, CamFree15 Talk Sports. Well, other than that, I'm gonna get out of here, guys. Hopefully you guys have a great rest of your day or night when checking out this video. Until then, guys, I'm gonna catch you guys later. Peace.